So you want to teach your child a second language, but you don't know where to start. Maybe it's because you don't speak the language. I know, I've been there, but I've taught my kids how to speak multiple languages, and I'm a non-speaker. I don't know much Chinese or Spanish myself, but my kids do. So I can definitely help you with this goal. Hi loves, if you're new here, my name is Brittany Kelly. I'm a mom of 4. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And on this channel, I like to share lots of tips, tools, and tricks that you can use as a parent in parenting, productivity, and just personal perspective as a mom. Tip number 1. Start early. Start as early as you possibly can. Research has shown that children are much more receptive to learning languages when they're very small. I'm talking about infancy. You can start as early as that. Why? Because in your native tongue, you start as early as infancy as well, right? I started speaking to my children when they were first born. You never can start too early as far as speaking to the child. So if you know of someone who speaks the target language that you guys want to learn, then have them come over, speak to the baby in that target language, or you can hire childcare that speaks in that target language. You can have a babysitter, a nanny, an au pair, or you can find a language immersion school that starts as early as infancy. There's one that is really close by to me, but I know a lot of areas don't tend to have that. So if you don't have any sort of access to someone who speaks the target language, or a place where you can send the child where the target language is exposed to them, then what you can do is try online classes for yourself and have your baby present. If your baby is present, they'll be hearing you trying to have this conversation with this person's having the conversation with you, and they are taking on the sounds of the language. So start early. Tip number 2, use visual aids, books, flashcards, anything that they can have as far as seeing the language as well. It's positive for both your native tongue that you're speaking and for the foreign language. I love using flashcards. If you know about my channel, you know I love using flashcards in early reading. But you can do the same thing with foreign language. Also, if you are reading books in the foreign language, they're going to learn even more words. We read more words than we actually speak on a day-to-day basis. So if you pick up a book, there are going to be words in that book that you're going to read that you don't normally say in everyday conversation. That's just the gist for every language, right? So make sure you're reading books to them in that language as best as you can. If you are really, really bad at the accent, then definitely have someone else who's a native speaker read to the baby or toddler or preschooler in the language, and that will help you guys out. Also, I use it's called Raz Kids. It's an app, and it's really a teacher's aid thing, but you know I'm gonna find all the things. So it has an English portion that goes all the way up to about grade 5 in terms of reading skills and levels, but it also does the same thing in Spanish. So it reads the book to you first in Spanish, and then you can read the book in Spanish, and then you can answer reading comprehension skill questions. Now, if the child is too young for the reading comprehensions part, that's fine, but you can use this for Spanish, if that's the target language, to help them learn how to speak and read in Spanish without you actually knowing how to do it yourself. Tip number 3, use short phrases. There are a ton of apps that actually have short phrases in various languages, so you can use that as a guide for you being able to repeat that. Keep things very simple. Just like you keep things simple in trying to help them understand English, speak in 1 to 3 word sentences at first, or just commands, things that are actionable like escucha, right? Listen in Spanish. The little things like that is actually a lot easier for them to pick up on the language because you're not overloading them with too much all at once. So take your time, speak in short phrases. It'll be easy for them and it will help you as well. Tip number 4, repetition is key. You have to repeat it over and over and over and over and over before a child feels comfortable really using that language in a regular setting. So you want to be able to get keep them encouraged by them hearing the same thing over and over. That could mean playing the same YouTube video over and over, watching the same video over and over that's in Spanish, such as Little Pim, or reading the same book over and over until it's second nature to them and they know that, afuera means this and abajo means that and arriba means this. I'm using Spanish as an example because my children are learning that, but you get what I'm saying. No matter the language, just repeat. Tip number 5, language learning apps. I've mentioned it a few times, but I really want to highlight that. Language learning apps can be so much fun for the entire family. It's very easy, very affordable. Some of them are free. So use your phone. I'm sure you're watching this video on a phone. And if you're not, you're doing it on something that you can put an app on that you can use, right, in order to learn the foreign language. There are a lot of popular ones. A lot of people use Duolingo. I've used Fluent Forever. Give that a try. Use those language apps and start early and use it often. All right, tip number 6. And at the end, I actually have this next tip after this one is like my golden tip, one of my golden tips. So just 1 second, guys. So tip number 6, music and songs. The thing about music and songs is that it kind of emphasizes certain sounds of the language and it's fun. Kids love fun, right? Make it fun, make it enjoyable is my mantra when it comes to teaching children anything, especially when they're really little. So songs. We play songs in the morning. We play songs in the car. You can play in all different types of languages very, very early because the brain, when they're infants, when they're toddlers, is prime for hearing all of those sounds in other languages. But as you get older, your brain starts to prune all those different sensitivities toward various sounds in the human language, any human language, and it becomes harder and harder for you to get that native sound. Tip number 7, this is golden. This is the thing that I saw the greatest increase and improvement for my children when they learned a second, third language. Language immersion. The way that you learned your first language that you don't remember learning was through language immersion. If you are able to find a language immersion program near you, wonderful. If you aren't, try to create that with a babysitter or play dates with families that actually speak that language, where all they're hearing is that language while they play or while they're just doing everyday things. You don't sit down and do lesson. It's literally I'm acting in my real life, but in this language. That is the easiest way. I saw my daughter after 9 months as a 3-year-old. She started when she was 3, and after 9 months of being in a language immersion school, fully talking and speaking and reading in Chinese, fluent for her age group, fluent. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. So that is a thing that I push. Language immersion, golden. Tip number 8, cultural exposure. It is always helpful to try to expose your child to the culture that normally speaks in that language. That makes it just a more interesting, colorful experience for everybody, and then they just can understand some of the nuances within the language that could relate back to the culture. Tip number 9, make it a family affair. Listen, I don't speak these languages, but I've made a concerted effort of trying to learn the basics. Why? That helps my kids. If I understand that Mandarin Chinese has tones, then when I hear my child kind of doing what we do in English, which is use different tones of voice to express, emotion or a different mood as opposed to changing the entire word, I'll bring that up to them. I'll say, hey, did you pay attention to that tone? And I know the tones, the first tone, second tone, third tone, fourth tone, I know them. So that if I hear anything off, I can point it out. So make it a family affair. It's not gonna hurt you to learn a little bit. Just pay attention and be as involved as you can, but don't think that you need to be at your child's level for you to be aware, because I certainly cannot speak Chinese anywhere near as good as my kids, and I still am able to make little comments to help them just because I was paying attention a little bit when they were taking a class. Tip number 10, be patient. This is a long-term commitment. Let me tell you, my daughter is now 8, my son is almost 10, and I began when they were toddlers. So just keep it going, all right? I've seen amazing results. You speak English your whole entire life, so why not do the same thing with these other languages? They'll speak it their whole entire lives. Just keep it going. You don't want your 18-year-old speaking Spanish at a 3-year-old level because they stopped then, right? You want to keep going. So know that you have to be patient. Wait for them to feel comfortable speaking in the language. They're not always going to just jump right in, where some kids are going to just jump right in. And it's okay for them to learn at different places. I have 4 kids. They're all learning these languages and they're all learning at different paces, and that's 100% okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out some of my other videos on similar topics on teaching children foreign languages and teaching young children in general. I love that because parents, we're our kids' first teachers, we're their guides, and we take so much pride in who they are and how they grow up. So I hope this was very helpful. I don't like to gatekeep, so I will see you guys in another video talking about similar topics. See you then.